2022. And hope everybody have safe travels, and thank you all for attending today. The first order of business we have is the consideration and approval of the April 28th, 2022 meeting summary. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the meeting summary?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Ms. Weir. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Gratz, any additional discussion necessary? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, we have an item update by Mr. Carl Woodridge, Deputy Assistant Commissioner, Office of Program Support.
Hey, Bruce, can we just pause for just a second for technical difficulties?
Get a little background.
I can't figure out how to turn off my microphone.
You need to turn your volume down. Yeah, I need to turn this.
And then I also need to do the Zoom housekeeping. I'm taking.
Yep, I will do that. Okay. Yeah. I don't get it back, okay. I'll have you turn your video.
Yeah.
Which maybe it's.
But the volume is on. My sound. Real quick, can folks online hear us okay? Just a quick sound check. I see a nod. Yeah. All right, I am gonna do my, the quick hosting for Zoom real quick before we get moving with the item updates. So for those of you on Zoom, thank you for joining us today. I'm Deanna Garner, the Recycling Market Development Program Manager for Items Office of Program Support. All microphones are currently muted. For attendance tracking, please take a moment to write your name and affiliation in the chat box if you're attending today via Zoom. We will be taking questions and comments from participants at today's meeting. All participants will be able to unmute themselves and ask questions or make comments at the appropriate times when asked. If you have a question or technical issue during the presentation, please use the raise hand or chat feature. To access these features, at the bottom or top of your screen, depending on your device, you'll see a menu bar. You may have to move your mouse or touch your screen for the menu bar to pop up. In the middle of that menu, there is a chat icon, which you can click on to show the chat dialog. You should also see the raise hand option. Please utilize the raise hand or chat features if you have any questions or comments, and you'll be called upon at the appropriate time. For those on the phone, If you have a question or comment, you can raise your hand by pressing *9, and we will call on you at the appropriate time. When called upon, you'll need to unmute your phone by pressing *6. If any members of the media have joined us, please utilize the chat feature or email media@idem.in.gov if you have any questions or would like to schedule an interview. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on IDEM's website, recycle.in.gov. And with that, I'll turn the meeting over to Carl Woodridge for IDEM updates. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good to be here. I'm Carl Woodrich. I'm newly back to IDEM after almost 16 years at the Department of Natural Resources. I'm happy to be back in OPS as the Deputy Assistant Commissioner for the office. I actually started my career here in this office as an intern and an intermittent employee, and then went downtown for a while. Worked on watershed management grants and then natural resource damages. I managed all the projects that received money from the White River Fishkill Natural Resource Damage Settlement. And then I got poached by DNR to continue working on natural resource damage over there. And then ultimately kept getting more added to my plate over at DNR. And you folks may have heard about the NWFE Stream and Wetland Mitigation Program. I worked on getting that program approved by the federal government and getting it off the ground before coming back to IDEM in August. I started, so great to be here. Couple of updates for the office. Recycling program has had a vacant education position for many months. Several. It's been longer than I've been here. So we finally are getting that filled. Jessica Irvine from our Office of Water Quality will be coming up to start in that position on Monday of next week. So we're excited about that position being filled. Jacob also and Pat have been coordinating a e-cycle event down in Seymour, Indiana, which will be on Saturday, November 5th. Jacob might be mentioning that a little bit more later. But I wanted to mention that as well. So that'll be the first one I think we've done at any of our regional office areas. So hopefully we'll be doing some more of those next year at some of the other in coordination with some of our other regional offices. We also have had a PFAS firefighting foam collection project. I think Bob Luger might have given you guys an update at the April meeting regarding that project. It's going very well. We've had a lot of great participation in that. It's a voluntary program. IDEM's partnered with the Department of Homeland Security and the State Fire Marshal's office. We're collecting that firefighting foam because it is high carcinogen, and it's a couple of those PFAS chemicals recently got listed as hazardous substances by the EPA. The foam has not been listed as a hazardous substance yet, but it may be at some point. So we're trying to preemptively go out and collect this stuff from firefighting, local firefighting agencies that probably won't be able to afford to get rid of it because it's not cheap. So we've got a contract with US Ecology. They're the ones that are actually doing the work collecting the foam. And we partnered with the Indiana Finance Authority to actually fund the contractor. So it's been really great. I think we're over 22,000 gallons of firefighting foam that have been collected so far, with a goal of 30,000 gallons. So we should meet that without any trouble and maybe even exceed that. So, and then the last update I wanted to give you all was our environmental stakeholder inclusion program, our ESI program. Bob Luger likes to refer to it as sort of essentially enhanced customer service by the agency. We've hired 2 folks, one in Indianapolis office, Herb Ingman, who's fluent in Spanish, and Raheem Evans up in our Northwest Regional office. And one of their main focuses is, environmental justice issues as well. So they have started having some meetings with community members. I think they had an initial kickoff meeting. As both of those folks have been on board for a few months now, getting up to speed on all things IDEM and environmental justice and some of these different communities that we're going to be reaching out to. So they started with the Martindale Brightwood neighborhood. So any other updates that you have had with you there?
Any questions?
All right, thank you, welcome. Yeah, appreciate having you with us today. The next item on the agenda is the status update on existing grants, Miss Deanna Gardner.
Yes, so for fiscal year 21, we have 5 completed grants. There's 3 more still in works. And they have submitted progress reports and are moving along without any issues. We do still have one from fiscal year 20. That was a 3-year grant with Munster High School that looks like we're having trouble getting in contact with anybody, and they've only had 1 withdrawal. So I'm keeping an eye on that one and we'll keep you updated on that. And then the other remaining one from fiscal year 20 is the one we discussed the beginning of this year with Growing Green for the recycling material recoveries facility. And we had asked when we granted that 2-year extension that Stephanie come to these meetings every fall to give us an in-person update. She did say she'd be attending via Zoom. Stephanie, are you there? I didn't see it on the participant list, but not here. Okay. I didn't see her on the list either. I will give you guys a quick update from their last progress report, and I will share that with the board as well. So I'm gonna try to, since I wasn't prepared to give the update, I'll try to summarize. There's a lot of bullet point here, but Growing Green has joined forces with an organization called $1 Billion BHAG Movement. I think it's called, I had to look up BHAG, big outrageous ask, basically. So they're a funding organization that tries to find large amounts of dollars for nonprofits and church organizations and others. So they're hoping for some movement through that. They've met several other potential partners, both in private and public department, DOE sectors, Department of Energy, maybe. Growing Green has partnered with APEC Geotechnical Consulting for analysis of the Eco Park, wetlands boundary mapping, endangered species analysis. So a lot of this has to do with the actual creation of the Eco Park. What I wanted to share from the email, then let me just grab it. Looks like I had it up. So the land purchase was a big sticking point. They're working with says we are working since the spring with NDOT on adopted highway programs along 2-mile stretch where Eco Park is located. And they're reaching out to them for drawing files updated to the I-69 right-of-way sections, because they're going to be in one of the right-of-way sections of land that sit between the Smith property and Martinsville city limits, where they're hoping to purchase the land. According to them, they believe that they're slated as the second project with this $1 billion movement. And they'll be working by the end of 2022 for the full $22 million budget to get the Eco Park and recycling facility going. They plan to, that would enable them to purchase the land and equipment by February of 2023. So ambitious goals still. And we will continue to monitor their progress. So with that, I can move on to the next item on our agenda, which is also up to me. The Central Indiana Waste Diversion Pilot Project update. We did receive 8 proposals on that, and some pretty big asks on that as well. So we'll be reviewing those internally with IDEM. As stated in the statute, we provide the board with recommendations by December 1st. So we're in the compliance review process as well as evaluation on our part internally. Then, of course, as you guys receive those, you'll be able to review the recommendations. Keep in mind, this is not the same thing as our grant process. So there won't be like a scoring sheet for you guys and that kind of combined scoring to review with. It's going to be more just on your evaluation. I can provide some kind of, I think like we did with our request for proposals when we did a study. Some thoughts and questions to evaluate it, to kind of guide you guys, but it's kind of up to you. Then on our next meeting, which we'll determine at the end of this meeting, hopefully in February, for awarding the 4 million. And it could be up to one entity, or it could be as many entities up to that 4 million. This is kind of just also a time for you guys to ask me questions about the process at this point as well. So.
As I understand it, we'll have somewhat of a synopsis on 12/1, and then we will have roughly 2 months to evaluate and write our recommendations.
Yeah.
Those are submitted back to you, and then they go to,
I think that,
if we do not approve those, right, we just submit those back for your consideration.
no, after we recommend to the board, is the board's decision. So that February meeting,
Okay,
you will be able to discuss them in the board at that. February. Hi, Terry.
I had earlier raised the issue that you might want to check with legal counsel to see whether or not this is restricted to new materials being taken out of the waste stream. I mean, it would seem that if things are already being taken out of the waste stream, we should not have to use this money to pay for it the second time. So at least the way I was looking at it, it would be new material coming out of the waste stream.
Like an expansion of what they're already accepting. Yeah.
They could expand what they're already accepting, but it would have to be new material coming out of it,
Not something that's already moving through the facility.
exactly. And then the
Yeah.
other concern would be flow control.
Is what's that? Sorry?
Flow control.
Flow control. Okay,
all right, next item is the recycling program reports. And recycling activity summary, Mr. Least. How are you today?
Hi, doing fine. Gonna look forward here.
I'm pulling the, oh. I'm sharing it, okay.
So you want me to come up there, just.
Yeah.
Wherever you're
come on up
comfortable,
here.
come on up. We're all one big happy family.
Step right up. Well, what's good, you're looking out, it's got a good group here today. And we certainly share the same vision. And this report it looks like recyclables for the state of Indiana. And we know that we have a 50% recycling goal and we expect to achieve it. So you know, we're stepping that way. And we'll get on to our next slide, but you know, why is this important? The solid waste metrics, you see, this is our window of opportunities where we got to have metrics to discern where we're at. This gives us a basis. But good news is our recycling did go up last year, 21.1% for the state, and the waste generation also went up by 500,000 tons, which you know, waste generation includes what goes to the landfill as well as what goes into recycling. It's a total tons that are measured. And as we know, as you heard, what gets measured gets managed. And so this is taking us in that direction. The circular economy is expanding definitions of what is recycling and what is MSW. And MSW certainly is materials that would come from the residential stream, but it also includes what comes from the industrial, commercial, and institutional sectors as much. And we know that cardboard from residential is the same as cardboard from a manufacturing plant. And so these are numbers that we have to get into our picture. And moving on to infrastructure, as we expect to get that 50% recycling goal. And this is an overview. It's a classic diagram that you have seen before. And it's a big picture. And staffing, resources, and funding. And it's divided up. What goes to landfills, what goes into recycling, you got waste to energy, but they all need the staffing, resources, and funding. And to make that happen. And what part of the pie that it's in? We have the technology, we have the staffing, we have resources to make it happen. People and communities need that. And so how it gets distributed is, I guess that's the friction that we have one another to see in that big pie where these materials get moved. You get millions of tons of material that move. And so you can't do that when you don't have the necessary means to get it done. But anyway, moving on. Oh, you know, the energy from waste, that was kind of neat. I just want to go back up there one. You know, that is about volume reduction as final disposal. And energy from waste is may differ from like some of the chemical recycling aspects. You know, the big thing here is volume reduction. You get raw waste coming in, and when it comes out, it's 90% reduced. And getting energy from it is just a plus. And but volume reduction is really the primary element on waste to energy. But okay, the NSW generation. This is how we get our numbers. It's consistent. It has been the same way we've done it for since 2014, 15. But anyway, this is the numbers that we measure, that we collect information on through reports. And it's millions of tons of going to landfills. You'll see these are in-state landfills, 6.5 million tons. We got exports. We track that by contacting the states and having them report to us how many tons they receive from Indiana. And we know, like Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, how many tons these states are reporting back to us. That's how we get those numbers. And the recycling area, that's what I'll talk more about on the next few slides. And specifically from recycling activity reports, that makes up the 1.5 million tons of recyclables there. 158 facilities. Just to mention, like landfills, 28 landfills that take in waste. Composting, we got 116 facilities in the state for composting, and they report how many tons they receive, and we track that. And Jacob will tell more about the e-waste recycling, and that is of the e-cycle program, as well as tons of material collected that are not of the covered electronic devices definition. So that's a broader e-waste number that we collect, but these are the areas that we measure and get reports on. So it does provide that basis, and approximately less than 500 facilities that make up our MSW generation. But it includes all sectors from Indiana origins. These materials that originate from Indiana. And of course, we know we get a lot of imports for disposal in the state as well, but that is not included in the generation. And yeah, the next slide here, it talks about who's reporting. This is a robust data collection that we get from recycling activity reports, and 158 facilities submit reports that make up the 1.5 million tons that were reported here. And it covers material garbage facilities, it covers the transfer stations, it covers recycling hubs. But the type of entities that we're seeing, it includes the solid waste management companies, which some are here, and you know, the names that you recognize. Submit reports, it could be Rumpke's, the Republics, the Waste Management Rays, Best Ways, the Wasteway Group, or Advanced Disposal, Diversified Recycling, or Gabana. I mean, these companies all submit reports. And a high percentage of solid waste management districts, in the state, solid waste management districts, also submit reports, and most of those districts do, and we get that. And a few cities and towns submit reports. You know, that our reporting funnels the recyclables into regional facilities, which then get reported. And so we track the movement of those recyclables, but mainly most of the time it gets reported on a regional basis from those facilities. Yeah, not-for-profits includes Tri-State Resource Recovery. We got Recycle Force and Opportunity Enterprises. You know, both of those companies are here today, and as well as Goodwill's also submit reports, and businesses submit reports, where we see like some of the Walmarts and Kroger's are submitting information. Green Cycle, Smith Creek and Pinecone Recycling for the wood waste materials. We got Quincy Recycle, West Rock, and Old Pratt are other ones that would be, have material cover facilities. But then Strategic Materials is the glass. So we got big names and lots of input into our numbers. And it provides a good representation of our measurement. And then some broker activity as well. With the next, you'll see that the tonnage is reported, and yeah, fiber and wood waste make up most of what gets reported on recycling activity reports. They'll do 75% of the total tonnage. Glass and single stream, roughly 15%, and metals and plastics and other are less than 10% of what gets reported. So fiber, the recycling activity reports, you know, the wood waste is mainly what goes to compost, whereas the wood waste goes to mulch. When it gets reported on recycling activity reports, it's wood waste that goes to mulch. But the compost reports are wood waste that goes to compost. We treat those differently. So it depends what report it gets reported on. And we got different reports that we look at to get these numbers. But recycling activity report being one of that you're seeing.
May I ask a question on your numbers? You had ferrous metals and non-ferrous metals.
Right.
We still cannot capture the metal volume numbers from the large players and the omni sources and whatnot, can we, Tom?
Right, yeah, they're voluntary. It's voluntary for
So what we're seeing is, are the metals that are collected by the solid waste management districts and those who
they're coming
take
through
the
the
time to
MERS.
report.
Yeah, these are the metals that are being reported through the MERS,
Okay,
or the districts that are being collected, they're reporting because they're required to report. Whereas metal salvage yards and metal processors are not required, it's voluntary. And therefore, most do not. And you know, it's that metals that come from municipal solid waste that we're trying to get to. And it's not the big number of metals like from demolition type efforts. Of course, that gets into millions of tons of metals, which Indiana being number one producer of steel in the country, that we do recycle quite a bit that gets in that number.
You mentioned that colleges and universities are not listed in there or have not participated in their stats. They track a lot. How can we encourage them to participate, or because they do I think there's a lot of programs, you know, Big Ten, and have sustainability goals and have efforts. I think Purdue tends to kind of be on the top there, and love to kind of get those numbers into these stats as well.
And that could be an outreach type effort to get those facilities to
Yeah,
information, and it's the tonnage gets captured when it goes to a MRF
sure.
shed. We're gonna see that tonnage unless they have direct shipments to the end users, which they're outside the MRF shed, but then we may not see it. The retract is a robust, it can track what comes from that sector, say colleges, the universities, and they would probably say, well, we send it to a recycler, MRF.
So you're saying it could likely be in these numbers?
Oh, yeah.
Got
It would be reported from the MRF side. And that's why the note there on the bottom, do not include shipments to recycling facilities. Because whatever gets sent to a recycling facility gets turned around and sent out to end use markets or out of state from a MRF. And so we have those tonnages, but so again, this avoids the double counting, which is neat about the system, that we can do both. We can track what goes to end users or through brokers and out of state as being part of the second rate measurement. But keeping those tons to recycling facilities as another category.
Tom. Several years ago, when this legislation was passed, some of the larger players like the scrap dealers and some of the others lobbied really hard to get exempt from reporting. And we're never going to get we're losing a lot of recyclable material, but not counting.
And the metals, on the
Not
metals
only just
side.
metals, but some of the larger players, and I know some of the big players in the paper and plastics industry lobbied hard not to be counted. So if you're gonna get an accurate handle on what our true recycling rate is, they need to be captured. And I would hope that somebody, and I've been pushing the solid waste industry who was involved with this legislation in the first place, to go back to the legislature and try to include those entities that aren't included now, because I think that's important.
Yeah, we have the MRF shed reporting going on. And there are direct shipments, that go from manufacturers that are generators of recyclables. If it's not part of the MRF shed, then it may not get reported. And paper mills in particular, they may have backhaul arrangements with the customers where it doesn't go in the MRF shed. They'll collect it, bring it back to the facility, and they're not required to report that because they're not a recycler as what a MRF would be. And so you have some of those tonnages outside of the MRF shed. It is voluntary reporting. And we would encourage those facilities, if they're doing that, to submit, at least right now, it's voluntary reporting. It's not mandatory. And that is a box of information that we are aware of. And so we want to acknowledge that those tons are there. The infrastructure is different because how they do it is different than what is of the MRF shed. And we're seeing tons going through the MRF shed. So that is a unique part of the infrastructure. And so as we look at our 50% recycling goal, we want to expand the infrastructure in all these areas. Sometimes we get out of just focus on one that we know about, and we assume that if industry is going to do direct shipments, that they have the means to get it done. And it should reflect in less material going to a landfill. Ultimately, we should see some decrease of what goes to a landfill. If more companies are taking in recyclables, you would think that would be the case. So you have the metals, that's a different category all by itself. But anyway, the next slide is going to talk about specifically glass, metal, paper, and plastics of the recyclables. And this is kind of the core recycling that we think about, glass, metals, paper, and plastics. And, recycling has a big definition. It could be food waste that goes to anaerobic digesters, but this chart is specifically for commodity type recyclables, glass, metal, paper, and plastics. You can see fiber as being the predominant material that gets collected from our waste stream and sent to commodity materials for markets. And it's been around 1 million tons that our infrastructure in the state is at, and has been. And this is a number that we want to see expanded, and it should double. We're at 1 million tons, and we should be thinking about going to 2 million tons of core recyclables being collected from the state. And it's material is available if we get it out, and going back again to the staff and resources and funding to get the job done. But anyway, that's our interim goal. To get the 50% recycling goal, we got to move probably another 2.7 million tons of material from the waste stream into the recycling stream. And so there's a ways to go yet. That's the next stream, and you'll see here the next chart. Yeah, this is the recycling single stream. This is what we do as a state for single stream collection. We got 7 MRFs in particular that handle single stream. We got to go through sorting. And we're not overabundant. We've got 7 facilities that do this. The recycling works in Elkhart. We have the Rays Indianapolis Recycling and 96th Street MRF here in Indianapolis. Tri-State Resource Recovery in Evansville, Serval Recycling in Fort Wayne. They got East Central Recycling in Muncie, and also Warwick County Recycling and Resource Management in Boonville. They do sorting of single stream materials. And these are the ones that we track for shipments of recyclables and as being our capacity in the state. And that is most of what is being done. So what you're seeing is our single stream recycling capacity. In addition to what we process in state at our own facilities, there are single stream materials that get shipped out of state for processing, which would go to of course, the Rumpke Cincinnati facility, or the West Rock in Louisville, and you get diversified recycling in Homewood, Illinois, and Waste Management in Chicago that can take a single stream. So some of our materials go out of state to get sorted. And so when you add the 2 up, you see about 300,000 tons of a capacity of recyclables. And that's a number, not a number that you think about all the curbside programs that in the state, but it all kind of funnels into 300,000 tons of collection. And it probably needs to go to 1 million tons of collection. And then the final slide here is that the source separated recyclables is a big number. And you think single stream is what gets collected of recyclables, but source separated is a bigger number. We see fiber coming from the industrial, commercial, institutional sectors, goes to merch that would only take source separated materials and bale it and send it to market. Those MRFs are a little bit different than what a single stream MRF would be. And so we're seeing a lot of tons in that area. So the infrastructure is different. You'll see direct shipments to markets from large generators and big box retail stores, distribution facilities like Walmart and Targets that handle that themselves. Their infrastructure is unique to them, and they get the job done. You'll see a lot of tons moved in that direction. And then you see tons being collected specifically at recycling hubs. Could be glass only collection. It could be sort of separated as people come in, and you see the work being done at drive-through drop-offs, like the districts have. So source separated is a big movement of recyclables. Yeah. Anyway, unravel the numbers. That's how we get back to our infrastructure. These are different areas. And there's more to talk about, whether it be compost or food waste or e-waste. But there's more to talk about, but this is a snapshot. Thanks.
Any questions from any board members?
Sure, yeah.
I have a question. I don't know if this is for you or for the board. I think it's maybe for the board, but I'm not for sure. I'm wondering, all the stuff, the efforts at recycling. Is the Indiana as a state making an effort to get businesses to use the recycled product? Well, where is all this recycled product?
Oh, yes.
going?
You know, we are a big state that uses recyclables. So any recyclables that can be collected in state has a market, in state as well. Of course, all metals, not an issue. We're the #1 producer of steel in the country. And glass, we got 4 mills in particular that use container glass and need more of it, or fiberglass needs more glass. It has to be collected and put into a specification that can be used. That is the bottleneck. But we do have a market for all the glass we could collect in the state. Our paper mills, we need more paper, we need more fiber. We got mills that take 500,000 tons of cardboard, and they have to go out of state to get material. Plastic's the same thing. There's room for more markets, and we continue to go in that direction. And that's another whole world of metrics as the industry that uses recyclables. We track what is being collected and sent through the MRF shed.
Well, we sort our recyclables, and our mixed paper is getting sent to the landfill by Rumpke. So we're getting charged for giving them mixed paper, which I was thinking that was something that you guys would be recycling, that it would be used.
You get back to the user, wants that material and the specifications. I don't know, mixed paper, cardboard, I'd have to look and see,
Well, cardboard is getting paid, we're getting.
picked up on the mixed paper.
For cardboard, but the mixed paper.
Yeah,
Our mixed paper, our magazine, our newspaper is all getting trashed.
yeah, I guess that would be a specific question. Why that's happening and what markets are available at that location.
I'd be surprised if that's happening. Can you give us an example of
Well,
what?
they're charging us money, and when we called them, they said it was because they didn't have a market for it, so it's just going in the landfill at their facility. Or, you know,
Because a lot of mills will take mixed material and want mixed material because it reduces their price too, as long as the quality of their product remains consistent. But is it because the paper is contaminated? Is
No,
that part of it?
no, it's all sorted.
Could you please state your name and your affiliation for the record?
My name is Mika Beauregard. I'm from Orange County Recycling Co-op.
Thank you very much.
I'm Ben Pettigo with Rumpke Recycling. Mika, I want to let you know, Rumpke has a contract with Pratt Paper for mixed paper, and I'd be happy to talk to you. We don't landfill paper. We don't landfill any recyclable.
Well, we're getting charged what they're hauling away.
Well, there could be, to your point, there could be a charge, but in terms of recycling materials, we recycle materials. We don't landfill, and I'm happy to talk to you.
sure.
My name is Emmanuel Raymond. I'm with UGN, automotive supplier. I just wanted to ask, related to the previous question of finding outlets for recycled material or landfill materials. I'm not aware that Indiana is part of the materials marketplace, which is that platform to exchange about what's available, what people are looking for. Is there a reason why? And is there a plan to integrate the platform?
Yeah, sure.
No, with Indianapolis is not part of the materials marketplace, and it comes down to cost. basically the fee to be a part of that. The agency, the cost to do that, we don't have the funding to be able to do that. We do our best if companies reach out to us, and they reach out to us all the time, for particular materials that they have. And we do our best to try to match them up with companies that could use that material or others. And there's other resources out there that we can send them to try to help do that. We have tried in the past, through several other organizations to become a part of a network like that, similar. But sometimes in the last few years, the cost has been very prohibitive. But it is something we're still trying.
With no other questions, thank you very much, Mr. Lee.
Thank you.
Appreciate your wonderful presentation. Next, we have Jacob Schmecker. Did I get it right, Jacob?
Yeah, that's good enough.
All right. Just going to give us a report on the E-Waste program, man.
Yeah, hey, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jacob Smicker. I am the Indiana E-Cycle Program Manager. So today I'm just going to give you a little bit of background on the program itself, and then just dive into a little bit of the data that we captured from last year, 2021. So next slide. So just a little background on the program itself. The Indiana E-Cycle program was established back in 2009. And really some of the main purposes of the program is to reduce the amount of e-waste that's actually being sent to Indiana landfills, and to also ensure that hazardous materials that are found in those electronic devices are being handled properly. And then also obviously recovering the materials that are found in the devices, so precious metals and so forth. The Indiana E-Cycle program really focuses on three main stakeholders, we call them, or groups. The first one's going to be manufacturers. So I'll provide a little data on the manufacturers and the number that reported and so forth in the upcoming slides. But when I talk about manufacturers, I'm talking about like the Apples, the Dells, the Sonys of the world. They report into our program and have various obligations that they need to fulfill. Another group that makes up the Indiana E-Cycle program is going to be the collectors. So a collector is going to be like a solid waste management district, or it can even be like a private organization like an ERI or a technology recyclers. And then a recycler is just a facility that is recycling that material. So again, we have quite a few in the state. But those are the three main stakeholder groups that make up the program. And I'll talk a little bit more about each of those in the next couple slides.
Yeah, sorry,
Oh, you're fine.
multitasking.
No, you're good. And before I jump into the upcoming slides, Tom kind of mentioned a little bit, the Indiana E-Cycle program actually focuses on a strict listing of materials, and we call those materials covered electronic devices. And that listing is here. So that includes televisions, laptops, tablets, and all those types of devices. So that when I'm talking about the data coming up, that's what we're focusing on, is this material. So going to the manufacturers for 2021, we had 67 manufacturers register with the program. So again, that's like your Apples, your Sonys, Dells. We had 67 of them register. They had a collective recycling obligation of just a little over 22 million pounds. So manufacturers have a recycling obligation that they have to fulfill each year. And they had a 22.3 million pound recycling obligation. And then their upcoming recycling obligation is going to be just a hair over 21 million. So it did decrease just slightly. So that's the manufacturer results for the year. Jump into the collectors. For 2021, we had 84 collectors registered with the program. So again, that's like your solid waste districts, or it could include like the Goodwills and so forth. And as far as total CDs, total covered electronic devices collected for the year, that was at 28.5 million pounds. And then we saw 25.2 million pounds come from metropolitan areas, and metropolitan areas is going to be a bigger county in the state of Indiana. So that could be like a Vanderburgh, a Lake, or a Marion County. And then as far as coming from non-metropolitan areas, we saw just a little over 3 million pounds. So non-metropolitan, it's just gonna be a small town like Plaska, Dark, here in the state. So that's the collector results for the year. So then jump into the recyclers, which is the last group, last stakeholder group. We had 26 registered with the program for this past year. They reported recycling just a hair over 31 million pounds. And then I did just want to note, so since the inception of the program back in 2009, over 350 million pounds have been recycled by recyclers. So we see quite a bit of material that they've been able to recycle. So that's the three main groups: the manufacturers, collectors, and recyclers. And then just kind of jump into the last slide here, just wanted to touch base on a little bit of the outreach we do. We try to get around and visit different solid waste management districts just to talk to them about their operations and what they're doing, and maybe just try to be a resource to them. So we've been, in the northern part of the state, south, east, west, kind of been all over this year, just kind of visiting different ones. We've also attended a lot of collection events throughout the state, just to kind of get a better understanding of what materials coming in and so forth, and just how they operate. And then one of the things we do actually at the Indiana Government Center is we always do an annual collection event, typically hosted on a Friday and a Saturday. And we did it this past year again. This is, I believe, the fourth time we've done it, and we collected just under 15,000 pounds of electronics. That's a really great event. Community really looks forward to it, and so do the state employees. And then Carl kind of mentioned we are doing a collection event down in Seymour, Indiana, coming up. So this is kind of a pilot program we're doing, in which IDEM is funding this collection event, which is going to take place in Cummins on November 5th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I have a flyer and would be more than happy after the meeting to talk to folks about the event details and so forth. But we're partnering with Jackson County Solid Waste Management District and Cummins, and then Technology Recyclers is going to be our organization that's actually handling the material, and they're just right over here on the east side of the city. So we're looking forward to that. We've had a lot of great input and a lot of great feedback from folks down in that area. So we are looking forward to that. And again, I do have information and flyers, so if anybody wants to chat after this meeting. And then finally, I just wanted to touch on, we do conduct retailer compliance checks and also provide education to them. So maybe like your Walmarts, Targets, Best Buys, we not only give them educational material in the program, but we also do compliance checks just to make sure that the video display devices they're selling to Indiana households are registered with the program. So did want to just touch on that, and that is all I have. So I'd be happy to either answer questions now or after the meeting. But again, I do have information on that Seymour event. So if anybody's down in that area, that's really all I have.
Thank you, Jacob. It's grown considerably
Yeah,
since its inception in '09.
yeah, definitely. We have a lot more people reporting in and just a better handle on things. So,
Very good.
yeah, cool.
Very informative.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Kevin, are there any questions coming to the Zoom
Yeah.
item? And double check.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the consideration of the recycling market development grant applications. Pat,
I'm sorry, before we go to that agenda item. Tom's report, recycling market, the recycling activity report is statutorily required from the board to be submitted to the legislature November 1st, which is why we presented to you. It's your report, but we do it on your behalf, but we
We have
need you to
we have to
approve
vote
it
on
and
it.
allow us to submit it.
So I need a motion to approve Tom's recycling activity summary.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Guerin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hackman. Any discussion?
The one discussion I have is just being curious, Tom, just. Do we include the colleges and the universities in as zero, or do you want to just take that line item off? Because we mentioned that a lot of times those stats are also included in the MRF sheds. And is it necessary to use that? Because could be a point of questioning and saying why, but they are supporting, I don't know. I'm just
Yeah, that is a good number, is the only event if they collected it and sent it directly to end-use markets.
Yeah, I know, yeah, and that's what I'm just saying is it necessary to have that on the report?
Oh, as a category. You know, it's a piece of information, we can use it or not, or not include it. It's data that we collect from cities, not, universities. If they want to report how many tons they do, you know, it is a sector that we could track, but, and they could get probably some beneficial PR from it that says how many tons they do. Same way the districts submit reports that says 100,000 plus tons, which is collected from the districts that go into the MRSA. In university, they do the same thing, but that piece of information is they don't submit reports.
Great. We can remove that from this year's report, since there was none that reported. It's on there and in that line, because in the past, we have had colleges and universities report voluntarily. But since there were none that reported for this past year, we can remove that out of the final report.
Okay, sure, thank you.
And then in 2023, can we have it to where, okay, the colleges are showing us, just say they throw X amount, but so it's not double count, at least we can represent what we are getting to the university so we can see it. And I mean, is it important to see that piece of it, Craig, just so we can see what the universities are doing for us?
They have to report it first.
Yeah, they have to
We
report it.
have somebody ask them, say, hey,
I think it'd be a big no. I mean, I think, you know, if you think of colleges and universities, especially with the pandemic, we're through the pandemic, the colleges and universities are back in there. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of energy coming there. I love, you know, having students involved, and there's a lot of sustainability efforts that come from, you know, IUPUI, Purdue University, IU down in Bloomington. I mean, I can imagine that Notre Dame has a lot of that stuff. But when you see this report and you see a big zero behind it, it's like
Yeah, that's a
type
good
thing.
point.
And so that's where, to Pat's point, is just taking it away so you don't have, if especially, you know.
and I think it's
Keep in
important
mind,
to get on the
we're-
ground floor with the people that are at the college level, or the ground floor, maybe getting someone's attention to help drive for the next generation too.
Keep in mind, colleges and universities, most likely, a lot of them are doing a lot of recycling.
I know, yeah.
And it's probably reflected in that some of it is, but not all of it, because they don't report to us. And they're not required to report to us. Tom spends a great deal of his life trying to
I
get
know he
people
does.
to report, and even if we were to start getting those
I know he
numbers. Try to, you know.
I'm trying to make Tom look as good as possible. I need to have a bogey out there is what I'm.
But also keep in mind, even if we've done that effort and we got, you know, like most of the universities reporting, I don't know if you'll see that number change much. Because those numbers could be already reflected by what we get from a MERV.
That's what I'm saying, take it away. Take it off.
So at this point, yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. We need a roll call vote on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ms. Uyghur,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz.
Yes.
Mr. Gratz.
Yes.
Ms. Hackman,
Yes.
Mr. Urban,
Yes.
Mr. Noonan.
Yes.
With that, we have a unanimous vote. I vote yes. So motion carries. Does that complete our obligations for Tom's report?
Yes, thank you.
Very good, thank you. And prior to working our way into the grant application, I think we've always made it a practice to make our disclosures for any recusals by any of the board members. And I will start the process by informing the board that I will be recusing myself from 3 applications. One obviously from Rumpke of Indiana LLC, one from Orange County Solid Waste District, who we have a business relationship with, and one from Quincy Recycling Paper Incorporated, due to a business relationship. Any other board members have? Harry?
I need to use myself from the Muncie Sanitary District application.
Thank you.
Bruce, I need to do three of them, workforce / recycle force due to business relationships, opportunity and prizes. Work, business relationships, and then, by working for, Electronic Recyclers International.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Ms. Ackman?
I need to recuse myself from Rumpke, Indiana, Orange County Solid Waste District, and Knox County Solid Waste District.
Thank you.
And then finally, Craig Lutz with, I need to recuse myself from Electronic Recyclers International with a business relationship.
All right,
And I recuse myself from Rumpke, Indiana, Knox County, and Orange County.
thank you.
And then I need to recuse myself from Intertech Products Inc.
All right. Any more? Thank you all very much. Just make a point of record on that. So with the applications, number one, thank every board member for the time and effort spent reviewing the application. It's always good reading, sometimes good bedtime reading. But I appreciate everyone's efforts. It is always very pleasurable when we see the board's scores somewhat mirror the staff scores. As in parallel as they're ranked through the process, which means that we're all working off the same page. So I think it's a very good effort on all the parties. And thanks to all the staff members who put time in to provide those reports. At this point, I would leave it up to the board how they want to proceed with the award process. I know Deanna's probably got her $2 million slide up.
I think I have it ready. I have to have that ready. It's a little more challenging to share this time because we also are doing the hybrid Zoom portions, but I'm ready to count down.
All right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
I think this is probably the first time in recent memory where the amount requested is not as high as what it normally is. And it looks as though we're going to be able to fund more projects this time than what we normally have in the past, just because of that lower amount requested.
I think it's number one, I think we should be very thankful. The legislature awarded us $2 million to grant for increased recycling activities. Thank you, Representative Shively. And Representative Arrington on. Good. Thank you very much. We appreciate your support. I thought we had some wonderful applications. And I look forward to not only the Central Indiana grant applications, but I look forward to the technology that's forthcoming. Kelly and I had a brief discussion about what she's doing now. And I read yesterday where one of the first hydrogen powered cars was released in Australia with hydrogen fuel cells yesterday. So we are moving in the right direction. But as a board, I only kind of keep the meeting on track. So it's up to the board members on how you wish to proceed with the grant applications. Deanna has provided us with a list ranking the grant applications by combined scores, I believe.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This
Yeah.
is better than ever in the past.
Good.
Yeah,
Super helpful.
fantastic.
I learn a little bit every year.
So I'd like to propose, so because we are in such alignment, I think that in terms of efficiency, we could just start with the top ranking one and move down the list. My only concern is that if there are companies that are
not at the top of the list that don't get an opportunity to speak that are here, if there might be some hurt feelings. If they don't get awarded.
So Kelly, if I can introduce or add on, because I know you had to recruit yourself from Intertech. That's the one that I have a question on. When you look at the combined to the item ranking and the board ranking, I'm just, if I could just ask the staff that did the ranking, that's the only one that I mean, I kind of play around and that sweet spot is the top 9. If you're looking at 9, is kind of like the 9 when you're looking at the combined ranking to the thing of kind of where that $2 million of the cumulative total will kind of fall into play. That's the only one that really kind of dropped lower when you look at it from combined to the board. And I was just curious on why that was number 12.
And I don't know, I think Tom's looking at his notes, I'm looking at my notes, we don't have it.
And if it's like one of those things, it's like, because then you can kind of look at it on, the bottom 4, the bottom
Right.
4 and saying, well, if you look at 9 and we say, okay, we are going to kind of give to 9, then we can kind of just play the math of it's about $27,000 ish that is over greater than the $2 million. And then, how we split the $27,000 away, I've kind of done some quick math.
Craig, would you want to have them talk about their project first?
We could, yeah, or that and just say, that's a good idea. Is anybody?
So we want a representative from Intertech Products.
Yes.
Aaron Hiley, Intertech Products, so.
Please come up to the podium, Trust. If you could, please give us a brief overview, and then you'll be bombarded with questions.
So once again, Aaron Hiley, I'm the engineering manager at Intertech Products, and one of our main components is an automotive air cap. And the material we use to make that is primarily a cross-linked polypropylene foam. And because it's cross-linked, you can't go through traditional recycling channels, but we did get fully qualified with Brightmark in Ashland, Indiana, who we are about an hour away from. And then the other kind of challenge we had is, since it is a foam, it's very undense. And so getting it actually packaged in a way that makes it cost effective to get from our facility to the Ashland, Indiana facility proved a challenge. So basically our proposal is to purchase a compactor that would allow us to bale this material to send it efficiently to the Brightmark facility. And actually make us a little bit of a return on this investment with the matching funds from this grant.
Is the Brightmark facility up and running yet?
First of the year.
Thank you.
Yep, just had a conversation with them last week, and that's the current timing.
I guess I have a question for you. Do you need the full funds in order to purchase the full grant funds that was requested in order to purchase the baler?
No, we could probably, with reduced amounts, go out, do additional shopping and find.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
And I'm just gonna bring this up with, I know during the compliance checks. Talking about your relationship with Brightmark, do you have a contract with them yet, or is that after they're up and running?
We do have letters of support. We do not have a formal contract in this yet.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Krebs.
If the Brightmark deal will fall through, is there another outlet for the phone?
So far, the only other outlets we've been able to identify are waste to fuel applications.
Any other information you want to give us? This is your time.
Yeah, so,
You make the pitch.
So about 2 years ago, we started work, we were sending. Got the exact number up here, but about maybe 2,000 tons a year to the landfill. We've made pretty great strides. We've reduced that number by about 60% through, I think Tom had some information up there about fiber waste that we were able to get packaged and sent to a broker. To get that fiber waste handled, and this last kind of 516 tons is kind of what we're struggling to find a home for. So with this project in place, we would become close to a zero landfill facility. So this would be going a pretty long way in helping us reduce our landfill impact.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else? Hearing nothing, we can
Bruce.
go off the, yes,
Not knowing where it ranked, I did bring some literature and some stuff to show the board. I don't know.
there will be an opportunity for public comment. If it particularly relates to grants, and we will call upon you.
Okay.
If it's a public comment item, there will be an opportunity for public comment after the award, and businesses, and I guess current business is handled by the board members. So what's the pleasure of the board? Somebody jump out on the limb. Do we want to start with the number one ranking, or do we want to start from the bottom?
Well, to Kelly's comment, maybe we could start. And just so that everyone has a chance to speak that's here. Maybe start from the bottom.
Yeah, that could be something that changes somebody's mind before we get to the other ones.
All right, with that said, is there a representative from the town of Maryville in the audience?
They should be here. Matt Lake is on Zoom. Matt, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
I just did. Can you hear me? Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Lake. Can you give us an overview of your project, please?
Yeah. Just to give you a little background, the town of Maryville is one of the largest towns in Indiana. The Maryville Stormwater Utility has been fully committed over the years to incorporating recycled materials into our infrastructure. We have a close relationship with a lot of our manufacturers, and over the years, the technology of incorporating recycled materials into high-density polyethylene pipe has made advances. So much that one company called ADS, Advanced Drainage Systems, one of the largest pipe manufacturers in the country, incorporates 60% of recycled high-density polyethylene into their stormwater pipe. So our intent is to utilize that in a number of our projects that we have been engineering lately through our stormwater fees, as well as our American Rescue Plan dollars. So the grant application is for 24,200 linear feet of 12-inch recycled HDPE pipe. That equates to 847,000 water bottles, for example. The water bottle is about 23 grams. That's 22 tons of recycled materials that's going into the ground as a sustainable infrastructure instead of going into a landfill. So again, we're very committed to this. We can scale this down. We do have a number of projects already engineered, ready to go. So again, if there is a competitive nature, it sounds like to this round of grants, we could scale that down.
Right, sir, thank you. Questions from board members for Mr. Lake?
I do have one question. Just,
Sure.
do you? I'm guessing I know the answer, but is the recycled material sourced? Do you know where it's sourced from? I mean, is it kind of, are we closing a loop and it's being recycled locally and turned into this project, or just coming from wherever?
No, ADS, for example, has their own recycling plant at their pipe manufacturing facility. So that is how they gather that. They're all number twos, which is the high density polyethylene. Another aspect of this project is to promote this. I think NDOT and everybody else, every other community should be doing this. We have low impact development requirements. So this is something that we have big corporations like Amazon using and things like that. So we can, again, not only internally have it done, but promote it throughout the industry for every developer and every development that goes, in Indiana or beyond. So, and again, this recycled pipe can be used also for sanitary. I'm in the stormwater business, so I focus on stormwater. But if you think about the number of miles of pipe we have in the ground just in Maryville, just exponentially expand that out across the state of Indiana. And if you talk about trackability, you could track the amount of pipe going in the ground and know how many tons of recycled material that you're putting in the ground as infrastructure as opposed to in a landfill, which will help your numbers just looking at the previous presentations that were presented today.
And what's the cost premium for the recycled content versus virgin material?
That's the thing. There's no difference. So and there's no difference in size either. And it's 100+ year pipe, meets all AASHTO standards. So it's a no-brainer to use this. I don't know why everybody's not using this. So again, it would dramatically increase your numbers for recycled plastic across the state of Indiana. So I just don't understand why everybody's not using this. So engineering wise, it doesn't change anything. So if a project's already engineered and we have low impact development requirements, so if they want to use recycled pipe as one of their BMPs, that's a direct substitution. They don't have to change the plans or anything else. They just change what material they're going to use and commit to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Deanna, what is under the permits and compliance, it says did not clear DWD clearance.
There was a fee that have since cleared up.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah.
So I guess my thinking about this proposal is, I mean, using recycled content, that was something that we discussed earlier today. You know, it came up, you know, if we're going to recycle, do we have markets for the recyclables that we're collecting? And so this is a project that uses that. However, you know, it doesn't meet the matrix that we use to grade grants. So, you know, is it the right fit for us as a board is what I looked at.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting project, and to the point, why isn't everybody already doing this? As far as, like you're saying, as far as what we're trying to achieve specifically with these grant funds, I don't think it's a great fit. It's not a high visibility project. It's not really promoting new recycling opportunities, I think, at least not as much as some of the other projects that we've seen.
Right.
I do think it's a great project, and I wish we had money to fund everybody, but.
Anything else?
I-
Ms. Ackman?
I agree with Kelly. I think we might be setting a precedent that might be hard to go back on if we start funding projects that are buying recycled product, because we've never done that before.
I'm gonna, and Tom might be able to help me here, but because it was before my time, but there used to be specific grants for recycled content purchases, and it is in statute for the board to encourage recycled content products and fund those kinds of projects. That being said, since the reiteration of the board once those grants got suspended, the ones that were solely for recycled content purchases. That hasn't been the purpose of these recycling market development grants.
Yeah, and I just also like to add, generally speaking, the way I view this is the same way I would look at, for example, utility incentives. The whole point of grant programs is to help propel projects forward that otherwise wouldn't, that the grant is essential for that to happen. So with energy efficiency, you're usually helping to fund because there is a cost premium for that higher efficiency product. And I would think similarly in this sense, so I would personally say I would not like to move forward with this project for this particular grant.
Mr. Garrett.
And I think just a few years ago, when the Chinese stopped taking a lot of our recycled products, that we had an emphasis at that point in time in using this money for the development of infrastructure. And that's what we have been doing over the last 2 or 3 years anyway.
Thank you. I guess every year we go through our scoring matrix, try to establish how we're going to evaluate the grant applications, and it's something that we may want to revisit next year when reviewing that matrix. But is there any other questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Lake. Appreciate your submittal.
Thank you.
Next is Opportunity Enterprises. Do we have anyone present on Zoom or in the building for Opportunity Enterprises? With no representation, we'll move on to UGN Incorporated.
Yes.
Sir, would you come up and please state your name for the record?
My name is Emmanuel Raymond. I'm responsible for product development at UGN. So UGN is a supplier of the automotive industry. We manufacture sound insulation. What make your cars quiet, basically. I think one struggle with our industry is that we use cold molding technology, so it's not injection, and we basically generate it's soft trim that we mold, so we generate a lot of trim scrap, and that's been a struggle for us. So overall, this represents about 20,000 tons for the whole company. We have one facility in Valparaiso, and they generate annually about 5,000 tons of trim waste. There's about 1,000 that we already recycle internally. And the other 4,000, because they are a mix of materials, they are really difficult to recycle. And so we have been looking at outlets, and we finally found one through Rice Building Products, which is another industry, the building industry, and they use some textile waste as a filler for their materials. They do building sidings. So what we need to be able to convert some of our material or send it to their facility is basically a way to compact that, because it's lightweight, it's 4 meters. So everything that goes to the landfill today goes through a compactor. So we would replace that compactor with a baler. That baler would require some modification to our equipment to be able to send directly to the baler. And this would represent about a third of what we send to the landfill today. So about 1,500, a little more than 1,500 tons annually. I would just add that on top of the technical struggle, there's also the financial struggle. So as you know, the automotive industry in the past 2 years has not been great. So in terms of prioritization, when I go to my CFO, I tell him I have that great project to recycle 1,500 tons of material. Of course, it's not his highest priority. He first wants to look at the bottom line. And I think that these EPA grants or IDEM grants are great to help put those projects on the right side of the equation. Any question?
I take it from the amount you're pursuing a horizontal baler.
Yes.
And I find it interesting, you have polypropylene, PET, and ESM trim scrap.
The two, trim waste, streams, I would say. One is, the polypropylene polyester, so this mix is very difficult to separate or to incorporate in anything, injection molding related. We're still working on those, but, very difficult. And the other one, what we call ESM, it's a mix of glass fiber, cotton fiber, and the phenolic resin. And same thing, we've tried to recycle that in-house before, very difficult.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Well, we appreciate your application and to see how things play out as we move forward. I believe the next company on the list is Quincy Recycling Paper, who I have to recuse myself from, so I will turn the meeting over to Ms. Uyghur.
All right, is there somebody from Quincy Recycling? Yes. So if you'll come up and state your name and just briefly explain your project.
My name is Amy Humphrey. I'm Quincy Recycle Paper. Michael Malloy is the general manager. He was able to attend today, so I'm taking over for him. Just a brief overview for our project. So what we're trying to achieve is to remove barriers for the smaller manufacturers and businesses that do not produce enough tonnage to be a part of our recycle program. We currently have to have at least 15 tons before we'll put a trailer at the facility. So by our project, we'll be able to have the additional storage trailers that we could put at these locations where they can have their additional tonnage put in there, and then twice a week we can come pick that up. But for that, we would need additional forklifts and the cost of the trailers to do that.
And so these would be located where?
So our sales team will go out around Indiana. We have 2 plants, one in New Haven, one here in Indianapolis. They would go around and talk to these small manufacturers and businesses and see what their needs were. And see if they could, if they would be interested in having us drop a trailer there. We average that this would remove like 5,200 tons a year. necessary. This would be, I mean, we would look at our business plan and would continue to try to find sustainable what am I trying to say, avenues to keep diverting from the landfill. We do have to pass up right now for the smaller businesses because they don't meet it, but if we can get the additional help for the project, that would be something we continue to pursue.
Where would the forklifts be staged?
They would be at, so we have 2 plants. So we're asking for 3 for the one in New Haven, and 3 for the other one in Indianapolis. And they would be at our facility. So we would have someone go pick up the trailers every 2 weeks, and then they'd come to, and they'd be at our facilities in order to remove tonnage off the trailers.
Any other questions? At this time?
Terry asked a question about the reduced amount. Do you have an idea of what you guys could reduce your amount from that 400K down to?
I do not have that number. I mean, I'd have to get with Michael for that, to see what they would. I know right now that the cost that we put in for it, that has changed some due to the market.
Yeah.
So I know that they're a little bit more than what we had previously stated, in our proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you.
Any other discussion from the board? Okay. I'd say at this point, maybe we go back to the other end of the list and start working our way down until we get to a point where we need to have maybe more discussion about funding. So we're gonna move on to Rumpke. Is there somebody in the room that want to follow?
Yes.
If you would state your name and just give a brief explanation of your project.
Yes. Kelly, I'm Ben Pettigo with Rumpke Recycling. It's a pleasure to be here and present. Kelly, I've got a handout. Is it appropriate to just a fact sheet? Is that?
I think that's fine.
I'll start that again. I just kind of give everyone a kind of an overview. Rumpke has asked for funding for a horizontal baler in Monroe County, Indiana. And we're looking at, we're excited about the project. It's gonna not only address cardboard, but it will address single stream recycling as well as glass recycling. And wanted to let you know that, Rumpke is aligned from our application. Rumpke supports IDEM's commitment to increasing landfill diversion through recycling and is a committed supporter and partner aligned with IDEM in this process. Kelly, I did put some information, understand that tracking is essential, to be able to understand the diversion. And we did use IDEM's records. So just wanted to let you all know that we understand 50% is ambitious. And but I think there is room for a lot of recyclers. And we have those recyclers here in Indiana. So I'm excited about this project, Kelly.
Wonderful. Thank you. Questions from the board?
Jerry.
Well, I would just note that, Rumpke has applied for previous grants and have done a very nice job with the money that has been awarded to the company. So I congratulate you on that. Need to ask you, can you survive with less than the amount of money? And I think we need to ask all of it.
I think that's a fair question, Terry. And yes, we understand, appreciate the opportunity to work with IDEM. And Terry, yes, we understand that and we're flexible.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is there a preference from the board? Do you want to go through and review the remainder of the projects and then come back and consider motions, or how do you want to proceed?
We got 8 left, Kelly. We got 8 of them left to go through, if you want to go through them. So,
I think it's fair to
Yeah.
let people
Yeah.
talk if they're here.
Okay,
Let's go to the workforce.
all right, is there somebody from the workforce?
I'll lead off. You're the technical guy. So I just want to highlight a few things that I've heard here today, which excited me because I feel like there's alignment. Sorry, Dustin Jones, Chief Operating Officer of Workforce Inc., also known as Recycle Force. We're a not-for-profit organization that uses our e-waste recycling company to provide employment opportunities, training, and other support services with individuals returning from incarceration. So we have asked, similar to some of the other folks have heard from today, from some equipment, balers, styrofoam compactors in our case, some steel hoppers. So a couple things that I heard are priorities here, are projects that are highly visible, high profile project. Just wanted to share that we are building a new headquarters right now, Sherman Park, at the location of the old RCA factory in partnership with the city of Indianapolis. It's a $13 million new market tax credit finance project that will open planned May of 2023. It's 107,000 square feet, and it is what we are calling our recycling hub. So when Tom mentioned that the major source of the materials that they track are coming from source separated facilities, one of those being a hub, we're excited that that's in alignment and a source of a significant amount of the material that's being recycled in Indiana. That hub is hopefully going to be the headquarters also for the activities that are part of our application for the Central Indiana Solid Waste Diversion Pilot Program. If not, we believe there's a lot of opportunities to partner and process portions of some of the other applicants for that program. And so what we've asked for in this project will support what we plan to do, but hopefully give us some capacity to provide some support and processing capacity for some of the activity that comes down the road. Last thing I'll add is we would be leveraging funds that were made available after the application. We mentioned them in our letter, but we were awarded funds from the Lilly Endowment that we would be able to leverage as our match for this. So I think that would be an exciting narrative, at least for us. And everybody loves to do things with the endowment, and we're pleased that they've recognized us. In addition, we'll have a $2.5 million sustainability grant that's going to go into a permanent endowment that we'll be able to draw for future initiatives. That can't be leveraged for this, but just we appreciate the confidence that they've shown in us.
I will just mention a little bit about the details of the project, specifically with regard to some of the materials. We are an e-waste recycler. We often get those manufactured TVs and still in box. They're often covered in styrofoam and other things. So part of our goal with the compactor would be, as some of the other applicants have mentioned, to compact some of those materials to make them a little more affordable to ship and move out. And then offering that service to the public. So a big portion of our funding ask is to actually communicate and have a call to the residents of Marion County and Central Indiana to bring their materials to our food hub. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
You identify yourself, please?
Forgive me, sir. Yes, I am Krista Carlino, Director of Development and Communications for Recycle Force.
If you have technical questions, I'm a technical guy. I'm Andrew, the Director of Inventory and Quality Control. Last name too.
Do you actually use a heating process to densify
So
the EPS prior to shipment?
no, so the compactor is going to use a screw to compact it. I'm concerned about the emission factors of using a densifier. So we found a piece of equipment that's actually just compacting it with a screw.
So it's just a basic auto compactor.
Yeah.
Is there some flexibility between what you're asking for and what you have?
I think of
for
course,
match?
especially if it means that another organization is able to get funded for their project. I think there's always flexibility for stuff like that, so that more people can do more things.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The next applicant on the list is Muncie Sanitary District. Whoever representative.
Hello, board. My name is Jason Denetti with the Muncie Sanitary District. I'm the recycling and stormwater educator for the Muncie Sanitary District, and Phil Reagan, the superintendent of sanitation, is also back there next to the pumpkins. But it's an honor to be here. Thank you for this opportunity to be before you. I was gonna say hey to Representative Sue Arrington on Zoom, but I don't know if they're still there, but if they are, I just wanted to say hello.
They're there.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the projector is the problem. My computer is the
Okay.
problem.
All right, well, hi, Representative Arrington as well. Thank you for all that you do, representing our community. But I just wanted to, just reiterate some of the goals and kind of the mission with why we applied, for this specific grant. I've only been the recycling coordinator in Muncie for probably about 6 years. And I inherited the program that we currently have, which is a blue bag program, where it's a single stream recycling program where you put everything into a blue bag. They tie that up, they put it into the same toter that you put your trash bags. The same truck comes and picks it up, takes it to the MRF. It gets sent up to a sorting line where they actually rip the bags open to get the contents out. And we've been doing that for 24 years. What we have found is that it's not very efficient. There's a lot of contamination, and there's a lot of basically abuse of using the blue bags improperly. The community has come to know them as free trash bags in some ways, which has always been an issue that bothers me, because they'll call and say, hey, can I get more free trash bags? And we correct them and say, well, they're actually recycling bags. So what we wanted to look at is figuring out a better way to capture more recyclables, and also address the contamination issue at the source, at the home where the residents are putting stuff in. And so we actually went on field trips over the last year and a half. We visited other communities in Indiana to see what are some best management practices that they're doing, what are some things that they've learned over the years, and we found that to be very insightful. And we've learned that a lot of people are going to a separate toter for recycling and single stream recycling, and that it's loose material in there, and that eliminates the plastic bag issue. There's a lot of plastic bag waste obviously with collecting it, and a lot of people in our community said it's kind of ridiculous that we're collecting recyclables in a non-recyclable bag. So there are lots of issues, and after doing this for 24 years, we put our heads together to come up with a better idea. And so our idea and our proposal is to purchase 2 new recycling trucks, and to start with the phase 1 of this project that would basically buy 7,000 96-gallon recycling toters, the same color as our bags, so we don't necessarily have to abandon the do the blue is our motto that communities come to know, but we're doing the blue without blue bags, and we think it's the best step forward for our community. We think we can significantly increase our recycling numbers and diversion from the landfill. And we can also reduce a lot of that, eliminate that plastic bag waste that's happened for so many years. I just want to kind of touch on a few other things. We're all in with helping to meet those 50% goals that the state has and other communities have. And we believe that this project can help do that. We're going to be investing a significant amount in education and outreach, marketing. We're talking about website upgrades. We're talking about potentially app for the community to really get this information. We're going to upgrade all of our tracking and data collection, which is something that is sorely needed and would be certainly helpful. We have about 25,000 households in Muncie that we serve. So the first phase, we were saying we would start with 7,000. This would be an opt-in program. where you would opt in to receive that recycling toter. And you would take a pledge and there'd be some education associated with that. So it just wasn't somebody signing up for what they might perceive as an extra trash toter. There'd be a lot of education and outreach connected to that. And so that's how we're considering rolling that out, with also creating an app and a mobile app for smartphones and stuff like that. What's not listed in the actual grant application is more of the funds that we're actually putting into this, because they weren't necessarily eligible for cost share. So we're proposing to buy 2 new trucks. But what we put in the grant was for the actual bodies of the Labries. So we would have to purchase the chassis for the 2 new trucks, which we estimate is about $400,000. So that'd be another additional investment that we're putting in. Plus, we estimate we would have to start with 2 full-time employees, which might be around another $100,000 that we would be investing. And then there's all that education and outreach that we're certainly going to have to spend money on to get the word out and do proper education related to this transition. Because as I mentioned, 24 years of doing something that, you know, the way that we've been doing it is going to require a lot of effort, education, and outreach. Those are some of the main things that I just wanted to highlight and talk about. These are going to be compressed natural gas trucks. We've successfully spent the last, I think, 9 years converting our fleet to compressed natural gas, and it's been a great project. Where obviously compressed natural gas has less emissions than diesel. And we also own and created our own CNG station. So we've been able to significantly save funds on fuel, operation, and maintenance. So there is there's an upcharge to CNG trucks, but in the long run, that money is saved through operations, maintenance, and the benefits of CNG. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have related to our project proposal. Yeah.
Will the trucks be dedicated towards recycling?
What's that?
Will the trucks be solely dedicated to
Yes.
recycling?
Yes, both trucks will be solely dedicated to recycling. And one thing we learned from our visits with other communities is what one community said when they started their program, they gave everyone a recycling toter, and it was a horrible idea because it just became another trash can. We would like to keep it simple, and we would do the rollout where you would receive a recycling toter, and we would pick that up on the same day that we picked up the other trash to not make it confusing. And we would do a weekly pickup, so those trucks would be dedicated completely to recycling.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So on the toters, if I'm living in the Muncie community, am I paying for that toter, or is that being supplied through you all?
It's being supplied through us. Muncie Sanitary District is a separate entity, a governmental entity, and residents pay for trash and recycling through their property taxes.
Okay.
So there would be no charge to do this rollout to the residents. And we anticipate, obviously, there would be a transition from blue bags still coming in because people have tons of bags that they've collected over the years. So we would work with East Central Recycling to do kind of that transition. So we wouldn't just all of a sudden, when we started the recycling truck program with the totes, eliminate blue bag recycling immediately. There has to be a transition where they would still pull off blue bags that were coming in because there'd be valuable recyclable material potentially in those.
How long do you anticipate that transition to last? I mean, how long do you anticipate still having the blue bag program, even though you mentioned that it's
at least 6 months, but maybe more. It really depends. We'll be monitoring every day when the trucks are coming in, what's coming out of them, like we've been doing. And a lot of it will depend on our education outreach as well. How well do we get information? One of the other issues is when I inherited this program, I inherited basically an Excel spreadsheet of 22,000 households that have signed up for our coupon program over that 24 years. With this rollout, I would be able to do a lot better tracking of who is participating, getting more information about that, how to get them information about recycling, do's and don'ts, contamination issues, and all of that. So I'm excited from my standpoint about that opportunity.
And then from a lead time standpoint, while you're waiting for the equipment, is that when you guys are gonna be doing the rollout to the people in the community on how it's gonna work and
Absolutely,
change?
yeah. I mean, we plan on hitting the ground running right away and then starting that process, getting the trucks, and then And I failed to mention, I did create a recycling advisory board from the community. That's diverse representation of our community. And we've had a few meetings where we discussed this idea, this new model, and this transition. And there's been overwhelming feedback for it, positive feedback for it. But then I would also lean on them to help me with this rollout.
I don't have a question, just a comment. When I heard about the Blue Bag program in Muncie, I thought that was the craziest thing I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
So as a recycling professional, I'm very happy to see this grant. And I think that you've done a fantastic job with it. And I think your education that you have planned and just the entire rollout, just, it sounds really good. So,
Thank you for that feedback.
yeah.
Anything else?
I would just recommend a hard stop on the Blue Bag.
Okay.
I agree. I agree. You just have to cut them off. Enough is enough.
Yeah. I agree. That sounds like you're already contributing to our campaign of outreach.
Just experience.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
The next applicant on the ranking is Knox County Solid Waste Recycling Solid Management District. State your name and give us a brief overview, if you would, please.
My name is Michelle Smith and I'm the executive director in Knox County, at the recycling district there. Which also means that I'm the controller and I'm the educator, public outreach coordinator, recycling coordinator, all the things. We wear all the hats. So if you're not really familiar with solid waste management districts, we are a kind of a special beast. We all are funded in very different ways. Knox County happens to be one of the few districts in the state that are funded by a user fee. We do partner with the county to put that fee on the property tax bill. It was established in 2003 at $15 per year per parcel, which lasted until 2021. So for 18 years, it was $15 per household per business. And so they expect a lot with that $15 a year. So I did finally, after about 5 years of finagling with my board, we were able to increase that fee to $20 per year last year. However, you know, those numbers still don't do a lot this day and age. So with our proposal, we are anticipating, we already have purchased a property. We were able to do that last year. And we are working on a drive-through recycling facility that will be open to all residents in Knox County, as well as small businesses. So right now in Knox County, I think Tom kind of talked to that a lot. If we want those numbers for reporting, we want people to recycle, we have to make it accessible. And right now, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure other places around the state have the same problem, but in Knox County, recycling is very inaccessible. Knox County is a very large county with a very sparse population. The entire county is a little bit less than 36,000 people for the entire county. However, we do have 2 remote recycling drop-off locations, one in the northern part of the county, one in the southern part of the county. And in the city of Vincennes, they actually do offer a curbside recycling program that we do help them with financially a little bit with the processing fees of that material. So this drive-through facility in our proposal is mainly to help us capture all of the other recyclable materials that they just don't have a place to go right now. So some of your diehard recyclers are willing to drive 15-20 minutes one way to a remote recycling facility. Most people are not. So this is going to be like a hub for people. Those of us who live just outside of city limits, who don't have the opportunity for curbside recycling, it will be centrally located so that they can come to our facility and recycle all of their
household recyclables, and also the businesses as well, because most of the small businesses in town are just trashing their cardboard especially, and all the rest of the materials. So we anticipate that this drive-through will be a big numbers changer for Knox County as far as the materials collected. Up until about 2 years ago, we do have it's a Republic Services a transfer station that was open to the public and businesses as well, like to bring all their recycled materials there, and it closed in January of 2019. So since then, there is no option unless you take it to one of our little recycling trailers. So this grant proposal is needed for Knox County to make this happen. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Where's it located at there in our county, on the north or south?
In Vincent, so it's right in the middle.
Right in the middle?
Mhm.
Okay, and then from a cost standpoint, I'm a resident, is it just free to the residents or is there a fee associated to help you guys
Yes.
financially?
Yes, it is free for now. The only thing that we are charging residents for is a television. So, and for our e-waste program, so. Questions? All right, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Orange County. There's someone from. You would come to the front, state your name, and then you can just briefly describe your project.
Irene Tarr, Tarr.
Mika Beauregard.
I'm glad I got it.
Orange County has a very enthusiastic population that want to recycle and want to continue to recycle, and they want us to recycle more. We have been established with Orange County Solid Waste contributing to our bottom line, $27,600, which has been a tremendous help. And the sale of our products and the sales we have from our very active resale store have made us self-sufficient. Now, our project is to have a baler or horizontal baler. I lost the word. A horizontal baler, and that includes things like conveyors to go with it. And our community really wants us to take glass. So we have put on our list a glass crusher, a special kind, so it takes less people to operate. We have a skid steer. My machinery vocabulary is limited. A skid steer in order to handle all of these products more efficiently. Now, our cardboard last year was 155,000 tons. 155 tons.
Yes, we recycle about 500 tons of products a year, and that's not including e-waste, so that's about 16,000 pounds a year. And our program is 1 employee and 4 full-time employees worth of volunteers every week. So we have 1 paid, and then the rest of us just kind of. It's a week, yes, it's a week. And so we requested several pieces of equipment that will help us to provide the service to like more businesses. We have a lot of businesses who call all the time and would like for us to come and pick up their cardboard. And so we're just hoping that with some more equipment, we can move a little faster and get it done and provide the service to more businesses in our community.
The paper shredder is also on the list because we make more money on shredded paper than we do on mixed paper.
Yeah, the glass is something that we feel like there's a lot of people that have requested glass
recycling for years now. And it seems like there's more of an opportunity, as some of you mentioned, here in Indiana, you can. There's some people who use recycled glass, but we also think right in our own community. There's a lot of different ways, you know, to use crushed glass as backfill for septic systems, and if you have certain colors of glass, people might use it in their, you know, for decorating lawns and so on. It can be mixed in with concrete to make different sidewalks or do different kinds of things. So we're really hoping to keep a lot of the glass local, but just reused in different ways. Is Carl on? Yeah, Carl's on.
Have you selected a glass crusher yet?
Well,
Yes.
we have looked at one.
Does it have that?
Yes. Wait, is it a Hammer? Yes, I think so.
Do you have somebody locally, a welder or something that can maintain those handles?
We do. We've got a back building that we want, we don't have storage in it now, but we want to get it set up. To have, you know, if there needs to be a dust collector or and all the necessary things that come in glass. I know Carl Anderson from Orange County Solid Waste Board is on Zoom. I didn't know if he had any comments. We're just in a partnership with them as the, just as a.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Carl Anderson, I'm Orange County Solid Waste Director. And I'd just like to say that we are very fortunate to have the Orange County Recycling Co-op in our community. Orange County is a very rural county in southern Indiana. And I would just love for the board to really consider this. It would help us out so much. Funds are very limited down here, and I don't know what we would do without the volunteers that spend thousands of hours of their time to recycle for our community. I think it's very important, and I hope the board will really take it under consideration. Thank you.
Dan, I have a quick question. With the amount of funds requested at the 57,000, and because Knox County, Orange County is the non-for-profit, there was another fund, there was another IDEM grant fund that had different funding. Would that be the better place for this opportunity?
We're not a non-for-profit.
Or-
We're a solid.
Or solid waste district, I'm sorry, excuse me. But the state created another,
You're talking about
Bucket.
community grants?
the community grant program, and would that be a better place to gain that?
That
To
they
give
could have
them
had the option to apply for funding through both programs. Yes, and that grant round just ended. So they would have to wait a year
Oh.
to apply.
Sure.
Yeah.
We did consider that, but we went ahead with this one.
Craig, I would say the community recycling grant program, we don't have, for that program, we only have $500,000
Right.
annually. But there's a lot of the businesses, a lot of the people that would qualify for that grant on this list. The community, you know, a lot of the nonprofits, the solid waste management districts, that program is limited to up to 50,000. Yeah. Or did we go up to 100,000?
I thought we went up to.
I think we went up to $100,000. Too, and for the communities that, you know, especially if you don't get awarded in this round, the community recycling grant program is open to municipalities, nonprofits, solid waste management districts, and schools and universities. And the match for that program is only 25% as opposed to 50% for the RMPP.
Yeah, isn't that where most of the educational grants and requests went to?
We do, the majority of the education proposals and applications do come into that program, or a lot of them.
We are in the process of looking at becoming a nonprofit on the side of Friends of Recycling. We're just starting that process to have more opportunity to access nonprofit funding. That's in the works.
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having a great time.
Next application is Electronic Recycling International, Indiana Incorporated. Their representative.
David Hirschler.
Yes, I'm here.
Zoom.
Thank you all so much. First of all, thank you for the invite. Excited to be here. Also, hello to Representative Shabley and Arrington. Just to give you background on ERI, we are the largest e-waste recycler in the country. We have a facility in Plainfield, Indiana, which is actually the largest electronic recycling facility anywhere in the world. So we're very excited for this opportunity. The sort of every few years in the world of e-waste, there is a new challenge to make it harder and harder for us to do our jobs. And of late, lithium batteries are becoming the largest challenge, not just for e-waste, but for all solid waste situations. Thermal events, which is the nice way of saying explosions and fires, are happening more and more. And so what we have done is we're working with Call to Recycle, which is a nonprofit organization funded by rechargeable battery manufacturers, and Redwood Materials, which is a company founded by the co-founder of Tesla, to develop end-of-life systems for batteries. We're working together to improve and increase the collection of batteries, as well as the safety of that collection. So what we are looking to do is the first thing we've developed is called the One Drum Kit. And what it does is it enables users to safely place batteries in drums that have a special fire safe technology. In case there is any sort of thermal event, it'll encase the battery in a almost a glass enclosure to prevent any expansion beyond and any further damage. So it's available to solid waste authorities, businesses, anybody who's dealing with loose batteries that are coming in. They can use this kit, ship it to us on a special DOT permit, and then we sort that material and then send it to further downstream, specifically to Redwood Materials, that's then able to recover the critical minerals and use it to help develop, source materials for EV batteries and battery storage systems, etc. In order to do this, we are looking to invest in more of the kits to have them available and readily available to our customers and clients in Indiana and beyond. We're looking to add a new sorting table to help our own staff ensure that we can sort this material safely without any further risk. And then we're looking to add what's called fire rover systems, which are these large detection systems in our facilities to be able to look for potential thermal events and immediately basically douse them in a special foam that's going to help keep our facility from burning down in a nice term. So that's an overview of what we're looking for. And to answer the question that's being asked of everybody, yes, if need be, we're willing to take less if that'll help us get some support from the state.
Question. Explain to me the battery shake system, if you will.
Sure. So what the one drum kits that we talk about, basically everything is coming in these, it's a drum with this cell block technology, which has this powder, it's basically a powder. And all of the batteries are coming in unsorted. So all different chemistries can come in. So basically what it's doing is it's a conveyor system. It has a shake technology to be able to eliminate the cell block and move the cell block out of the system. So it's just the batteries. It has a hood to kind of capture any smoke or potential thermal runaway, and allows our staff to then be able to sort by chemistry on a more quick and efficient manner. So that the faster we can get these kits processed, the more kits we can bring in, the more material we can recycle and safely.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I thank you for participating via Zoom today. Thank you for your explanation. And we'll move on in the great consideration phase.
Thanks so much.
Next applicant is NTech Incorporated.
I am Jeff Fisher, Environmental Officer of NTech Inc., and Jennifer Willie and Emily Fitt are here with me. Our grant is fairly straightforward. We saw a chart with a big landfill bar over on this side. We're coming and saying a part of that is in Indiana, we are in scrap tire recycling. In Indiana, there are scrap tire recyclers who are sending products that passenger car tires that they've cut up to a small enough piece that is legally landfill. They're sending it to the landfill. We have a process and customers that we could recycle that and send it out to our current customers. And just to give you a bit of our industry, this would be steel we can get from tires. This is a compressed mold piece we make from tires. And of course, you all know rubber comes from tires. And this is the steel from tires before it goes to a melting operation and is molded like this. So we have markets, we do it. We just need more capacity to grab these car tires that are going to the landfill and turn them into marketable products. That's the summary of what we are trying to do. We estimate that it would be 16,000 tons we could right away take out of the landfill, put into these products. Sidelight of our industry, we are talking passenger car tires, which are less desirable than semi tires because they have nylon in them and the white wall color. Those two items make them more expensive for us to deal with and so forth. So we want this extra equipment to be able to do that. If you've looked over our application, you see we have like $900,000 that this equipment will cost us, and we're asking for a grant of $480,000. And that capacity is what is stopping us from just taking this out of the landfill. So that's a summary of what we do. And
so when you guys shred it, do you guys get it down into the fine form that goes down to the next step as far as downstream, or where does it go
rubber
next
or
step?
wire?
Either one.
Wire, we do this and then sell it to foundries.
Okay.
Rubber, we will make it into any size that a customer wants, which can be like baby powder, puppy, or it can be larger pieces. So whatever that size is artificial turf. And that's a lot of where our product goes. We were fortunate enough to do the Minnesota Vikings Stadium just before the Super Bowl. They had our rubber in there. That was kind of exciting to us.
And the playground rubber, different things like that you see on the playgrounds.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we personally don't do playground rubber, but the industry can say that.
How many car tires a year do you recycle?
Yeah, I don't know that unit of measure. We do about 85,000 tons of tires. I don't know if there's somebody that can convert that to, it's about, IDEM says 20 pounds per tire. That's the conversion. Now, in reality, tires have gone from 13, 14, 15 inch to 17, 18, 19. So in reality, it's about closer to 30 pounds per tire. But across in IDEM and the industry, we just converted it 20 to get a PTE.
What is your service radius?
We cover the Midwest. It's transportation that cuts us back. Most of our tires come whole tires to us with a semi-trailer sitting at our customers. But we do get wire or rubber pieces from other people in the industry that we further process into products.
Okay.
And by the way, that ingot is a sales ingot. The real ones aren't stamped and look pretty, you know. But they still are a 10-pound ingot that we can ship to foundries.
Questions from board members?
I'll steal Mr. Karen's question. If deemed, would you take a lesser amount?
Yes, we just have to come up with funding from somewhere else because it just makes sense. When you see that landfill bar, we know we can do this. We just need the funding to get the extra equipment to do it. And, you know, we get banks or individuals that we'd like to have it all. But yes, we'll have to make it work without it or with lesser.
Thank you.
So you have a market already in place. How much demand is out there for your products? Steel, I understand.
Yeah, who said we're the largest manufacturer? Steel is easy. The others, we do have markets for them. It's like on the car tires, the nylon. We have just started, we've been looking all over for somebody that would take this stuff either at zero or pay us a little or whatever. So it's the nylon, and as you go through this process, you have to come out with a clean product. And so we have a little bit of that we take off that goes to the landfill because it's a waste stream or whatever. But no, basically the rubber, that 85 million or 85,000 tons that we bring in, we get rid of most of it. And most, I mean, 95% is recycled.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I thank you very much for coming in. Your props were excellent. But the ingot, I was hoping you were going to put it down and not try.
And we thank you for the opportunity. We are way up north. I can look out my office and see the line of Michigan, but we would invite any of the Indianapolis people, if you just want to come up and visit, see what's going on in the industry. Because when I started 20 years ago, just about all of our revenue was tip fees to bring stuff in, and we recycled 10–15% at most. Now in 20 years, we're up to 90–95%, and the scrap tire industry has really developed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next applicant we have on the list is Potowski Plastics Incorporated. When you're approaching the podium, I want to tell you that your application is near and dear to my heart because I used to vacation in Petoskey, Michigan.
I brought some taxi stones instead, but I brought some product. You can see the process. I didn't know how many people I brought individual baggies. Different things. I always think visuals are worth. These are the problem children of our process. We'd like to be able to reprocess. What it looks like coleslaw. Oh, I got one more, sorry.
Thank you.
This is a problem child. This is what we want to get it down to, so it's dry. And there's some equipment we believe we want on there to do that. And fighting some allergies. This is what it's likely pellets look like. Only through process them. And one more. This is what prime resin looks like. You'll be able to see the difference. And this is what, when we take those gray pellets and we process them, this is what the film looks like. So what the reason for the color is, it is basically that's the process. So we blow thin pieces of film. It's not clear, but it's out. And I don't have enough.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yes. Somebody. And you drop some film over here. Got some film over there. Oh, that's why I didn't have enough. I don't know who wants to see it. Gotten. That's the film that they made. Maybe you hold it up, you'll see there's a little imperfection there. And this is some end product we can make with it when it's done. So I brought presentations, but no one wants to go through all this. I'm gonna have some out and you can look at them later if you'd like. I don't know if I stated my name, I'm sorry, I'm too masculine. You want to put your presentation on the interest of time. We have on page 4 a picture of our facility. We bought it out of the dinosaur program from the state of Indiana. And it was a blight, it was the old overhead door plant. And it was been vacant for 5 years and it was considerable disrepair to say the least. So we have, this is an old picture, we have updated it. The part of what I wanted to show you is that size of the facility is 300,000 square feet on 38 acres. And about 2/3 of that is the recycling. This little outbuilding here looks like a, we call it the Quonset hut, looks like something for World War II. This facility had been there a long time and we sandblasted it and cleaned it. I thought it was a dirt floor, but it's actually a cement floor and it is usable. This building back here is about 17,000 square feet. We have added 3, I would say, structures to continually hold the scrap, and all these hold scrap. So significant footprint they require to process film scrap. We have been processing recycled content film post-consumer for many years. We're one of the leaders in that. And we can make products out of the process. What we're looking for, the equipment. And just to give you a little bit of history on page 8, you can see our improvement. We started in 2007 in Indiana. I apologize, this graph goes back to 2010. We changed computer systems, so you can easily get at the data, but you can see our trajectory. In 2010, we processed a little over 15 million pounds, and in 2022, we processed, based on year-to-date September, we should process a little over 35 million, close to 36 million pounds. The blip in the screen on 18, we had significant damage to a piece of equipment we had to repair. We go to the landfill certifying our scrap so that we, don't do greenwashing. We're the real deal. We get the scrap and we get some many sources. You look on page 10, you'll see the scrap that we have, and it's different types that we can process. Stretch wrap is what's on the left, and clear bags are on the right. Stretch wrap, anything that's palletized, a box or a bag that's palletized on a skid so that you can load it in a truck and stretch wrap. And stretch wrap is kind of like saran wrap, where it's sticky and tacky. And so in order to get it, because it's bulky in large volumes, we go to big recycling for one of our major customers. We get it from in our closed loop Walmart, and they bale it. So once you bale it, it's like a big wad of glue. So we actually have some other equipment. We have guillotines, and we have we run it through like at the airport, like through a scanner to see what's in there to make sure that it's good. There's no metal in there. It doesn't damage the equipment we also have some metal detectors that have to pull things out. But we are one of the few film companies that can process that. The clear plastic bags, our other bags we get from some of our customers, one of the names you would probably know is got actually make large bags for their distribution centers. And so when they have their conveyor belts, and these are all going to Atlanta, and these are going to Chicago, they stick all these smaller parcels in a bag. And then when they get to their end destination, they load them in the trucks to explain to how they're getting to their destination. They bale them and recycle and pick them up and put them back in products. So on page 12, 11, excuse me, there's a little diagram. It's just like processes to show you what we go through. So we take those big bales and we put them on a truck and we sort through the bales. Because one of the things that's different and more cumbersome with film products as opposed to hard plastics, there's no number on the bottom. So we have to go to our sources. We have to check chemical content, because you can make plastic wood if you commingle different materials, but you cannot make film products out of that. So we have to know our sources. And then we put them through a grinder that makes them into flakes. And you can see those are like little duck feathers. So they're very, very small. And then it goes through a wash process. In the wash process, we have some fallout. And that's one that was like coleslaw that are really quite wet. There's about 20% water in there. What happens is they get so small, they get through the screens and we can't get them out. But it's a sink flow process, so plastic floats, and so we scoop them up, and there's a whole bunch of water with them, and we'd like to be able to dry it. We found some equipment that we believe can dry it, and so that is our request, is for some of this new equipment. It goes from there into another piece of equipment in this little diagram. It's hard to see, but it's called a pelletizer, and it makes it back into those little flattened pearls that look gray. And again, the colorant in there is not colorant from the bag. It's usually there's like ink on it from like a print line, fill to line or suffocation warning or whatever is on that bag. And that's why you're getting that discoloration. And then from there, we run it through our quality control to make sure we can process it and what's in the pellet. And this little diagram is hard to see, but that's a bubble. Bone plastic is blowing a bubble. And to use that PCR content, which we can do up to 70% post-consumer, is we, in the center layer, we put the post-consumer, and outer two layers, we put prime materials. It's kind of like cross-hatching, like OSB board, so you can get the strength of the properties, because every time you melt plastics, or they call it a heat transfer, you lose strength and you lose some of the elasticity of it. So, and it's one of the things that we do in the industry. We make products out of it and we send them back in there. And page 12, this particular piece of equipment we researched, they call it a screw press. I think of it like squeezing the water out. Those little fine flakes go in here, the flakes come out this side, and the water is discharged here. One thing about the water process, I should say, is like a swimming pool. We use that water over and over again. So I should have said that. The fluid dryer bed is like there's air chambers that go through and then cycles around. It continues to dry it. And then there is another thing that's called a shaker table, and basically it shakes it. It continues to dry, but it makes it so that it isn't clumps. So those little tiny pieces can go through an even stream, go back into pellets. So we can process them. Like everybody, difficult manufacturing these days, no one should go to work. bad things, so, anything we can do to, help the process, you know, the bid thing is, bottom line, we make more money out of extrusion. Because it's a difficult process, there's tons of problems, equipment is problematic, and, you know, if everybody could do it, they would do it. And so, that's the issue, but you know what, we believe it furthers the, you know, goals of IDEM, reduce, reuse, and recycle. All of those wet fines of the 35 million pounds we brought, it's almost 36, about 2.1 is these little wet flakes that are just so small. And we believe of that 1.7 million we could reuse. And the reason the difference is the water. So we can get the water out of it. So we believe, you know, we've been with IDEM for some time. We've done several other projects with them, and we believe that we're capable of doing this. We thank you for your time and attention, and any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Questions, Terry,
You've grown steadily over the years.
Yes,
Been around long enough, to remember when you started.
yes.
Um,
Ma'am, Alex,
Haven't you got a grant from this particular fund before? I seem to think you.
we may have.
Years ago.
That was in 2015,
Yeah.
we're sorting line.
Yeah. I show that we had a sort line in 2016. Yes, that was part of the process. It was to sort the material, and I think fulfilled all our obligations on that, and we use it. I don't know who came out to our facility to look at it, but we use it every day. I mean, you'd be amazed when you pick up scrap in that kind of form, what people probably throw in the bin or the container that you wouldn't think would be in there. The first, you know, no disrespect to Walmart, but first time you're picking up the bales of scrap from Walmart, they pulled up to our dock in Hartford City, and they opened the dock doors, and it was loaded with rotten chicken. We're like, oh, thank you. Garbage. And so it was like you guys have to go through educational process. We had to go to each of the distribution centers, show them pictorially, this is what we can process, this is what we can't process. And there was other things. They said a couple times we had broken picture frames, glass and the metal and the wood. And then when it's stretch wrap, it's not like a dry cleaner bag. You can't just pick it up and shake it out. So and the other bags, we do use a sort line. And again, we use an X-ray machine. We use a lot of metal detection, because when the metal gets in there, it just destroys the blades. And they have to be very sharp to cut something that's very thin and very strong and stretchy. So.
Yeah, I get it. You know, my name is Tom, of course, with the program that. Yeah, the Petoskey Plastic came to Hartford City. They moved their operations from Petoskey, Michigan to Hartford City. And it was part of a $1 million attraction loan we had available at the time. That was a program that we had, that we offered. So it was an attraction loan, which they paid back in 2007. And that got them started here in Indiana. And they have since grown significantly since then. Very good product and take collection of materials. In 2015, they got another grant. And you know, of the feed coming in, some of it goes through an X-ray machine just to make sure there's not a piece of metal in there in those bales that they receive. But it helps streamline getting material through their facility so they get more output, and it helps the grant in 2015. Very good company, and they have a good record.
Any questions? Answer for you? Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Nice job. Sorry for my math. No.
Thank you. No, I
You put
appreciate
a lot of work into your presentation.
Yes, we did. I have some questions for you after the meeting.
Oh, I'm here. No, if you'd like to, some ten, if you want to throw them out, I'll take them back and dispose of them.
The next applicant is Intertech. Where are you? So we're done. We're done.
So, I think maybe we go back to the top of our list and work through motions.
I have a question for Deanna before we get started. Were there any applications that were excluded from this grant round?
That we're not eligible, that applied and we're not eligible.
Yes,
Yes.
and why?
Sure, there was 3. First one, I was trying to purchase a truck. And then we don't.
The back page.
Yeah. We don't fund vehicles purchases that are not specialized vehicles and that could be solely used for the purpose of recycling. That's just precedent here with the board. When we removed the truck from their request, it brought it below the minimum amount that they could ask for funding through RMDP.
And
So
what's
we
the-
recommended them to apply for the community recycling grant.
And what's the minimum amount?
50,000. 50,000. The second one, Tradivi Treatment and Recycling, has a long history of compliance issues with item. And, UBO Recycling was the last one to be removed, and they were not able to provide proof of funding for the project in time for this funding round.
So just, to get- I thought earlier we talked about that the minimum was 100,000. It's 50,000.
50,000.
50,000. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's 50,000 grant, $100,000 project.
Yeah.
That's what
Or it gets
Thank you.
confusing.
Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, I think we need to move forward with making some selections. And I'm going to let Kelly lead this because I have so many, recusals.
All right. So let's start with Rumpke. Anybody like to discuss that or make a motion?
They've done a good job in the past, and I'd like to see them funded. The question is I don't have any problem funding them for the full amount. The issue is whether or not you want to adjust the amounts all the way through here on maybe one or two more projects. But that's personally, I don't have any problem with funding them for the full amount.
I would support them to the whole amount.
Can I make that motion?
And so this is just an ask, could we? Because to your point, I think that. There's a lot of good projects and a lot of good applications out here. Unfortunately, we have a limited dollar amount. Could we go through the list of ones that we'd like to approve? And then we kind of go back and look at the dollar amounts and just simple math. I've got a couple ideas that if we could add in, before we max out the dollars, we could add additional ones. And all I'm just saying is maybe taking a little piece out of everyone that we get everybody, or if we fund 100% of one person, then we've given all those dollars away and we have to take more out of someone else. That's all I'm just for.
So I would ask, after the eighth one, are there specific ones that you would like to see get funding or partial funding?
All I'm just saying is if everybody gets partial funding, we can fund 9. Or you're gonna take a lot more out of one person or out of one fund, or would.
I would suggest, so for example, if you're particularly looking at funding a 9th one, that the difference would be small enough, the discrepancy, that maybe we just take that amount away from like number 7.
Oh, I see, okay.
What would be the percent of decrease if we decreased each application by the same?
Good question. It's, it would be very on the amount of fund that you asked, but you're basic, so if we were to look at the top 9, it's $27,000, and you take $27,000 divided by 9, it's about $3,000. That would come out of, if everybody to be equally out.
Well, I know, I didn't mean.
But I know, but
equal
it's
dollars,
a-
equal percent.
I know the equal, it's tough because you got
Yeah.
one that's $500,000 and then you got another one that's $56,000, right? So just kind of do that, or
Are you talking about all 14 projects, Debbie, or just the top 8 or 9?
It was a general question. I hadn't thought that through.
I know.
So if I can suggest, there are 2 approaches that I think would be much more simple for Deanna's math, as well as I don't think there's any equity issue, so what I would propose is either, one, we reduce the 9th one, they get a partial award, because they are lower on the list, so I think that's fair.
Okay.
Or two, we reduce that discrepancy, fully fund the 9th one, and take that discrepancy from the largest amount, so it's a smallest percentage.
I just,
The third largest.
I want to just say one thing. I know that we ask this question every time because we want to fund as many, because the projects are always worthy and they're always great. But we want to be careful with just blanket reducing what they ask for. They ask for this amount of money for a reason, and even though they come to us and say that they are willing to accept less, we want to consider that fully, when you're considering your decisions, that this is what they came to for. In the past, sometimes we've had this happen where the board has offered everybody less. And then it kind of, the next year we see a lot less applications.
Okay.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, they're specifically requesting that amount for a reason. And so I would prefer to just, make one or two sacrifices that are willing to take a little bit less.
Appreciate So we're back on to,
Rumpke,
is there a motion? Is there one motion out
did you
to?
make a motion?
Don't think I did, but will.
All right,
Yeah.
so what is your motion?
That we fund, Rumpke for the full amount.
Okay, $365,958. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And I should have had a list of names ready for roll call.
No, but they'll cover it.
Perfect. All right. So for Rumpke. Mr. Burrow is recused. Let's see, Mr. Noonan.
Yeah.
Mr. Lutz.
Yes.
Ms. Packman, you're also recusing yourself. Mr. Kieran. Carrie,
Yes,
did I say your name wrong?
I could tell you how it's been pronounced many times in the past.
Tell me how to say it correctly.
You're better than most.
Okay, Mr. Gratz
Yes.
and Ms. Whitehead is also recusing. Correct. And I am also a yes. So that motion carries. Moving on to workforce. Discussion or motion.
I'll make a motion to pass it full fund.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, so we'll do a roll call on workforce for $87,500. So you won't last, okay. Let's see, Mr. Looking at my list of recusals, so you can just tell me. I'll just go through the list. Mr. Noonan,
After you.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman,
Yes.
Mr. Gurin,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes, and Mr. Gratz. Okay, that passes. Next is Muncie Sanitary District. Any discussion or motion?
I make a motion to fully fund.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We have Muncie at $468,798. And we'll start with Mr. Noonan.
Yes.
Mr. Lutz.
Yes.
Ms. Hackman.
Yes.
Mr. Gurin,
Excuse.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
I am also a yes, Mr. Burrow,
Yes.
that passes. Moving on to Knox County Recycling. Is there discussion or a motion?
Motion for full amount.
Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Mr. Letts,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman, Mr. Guerin,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead.
Recuse.
I am also a yes, Mr. Burrow.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Moving on to Orange County Solid Waste Management District.
Move to approve. Full
Okay.
amount.
For the full amount of $56,817. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay. Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman. Mr. Guerin,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead.
Recuse.
I am also a yes, and Mr. Burrow.
I recuse.
Okay, and that also passes. Moving on to Electronics Recyclers International. Discussion or emotion?
Move to approve the full amount.
Okay, for the full amount of $139,457. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Noonan,
Recruit, I have to excuse myself.
okay, Mr. Lutz,
I have to excuse myself.
Ms. Hackman. Yes. Mr. Guerin,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead.
Yes.
I am also a yes, and Mr. Burrow. And that passes. Moving on to NTEC. Any discussion or a motion?
Where are we on the, that's what I was amount, 1, 3.
So is this where, maybe we kind of discussed that so that we can fund the top
Yeah,
9 projects that we asked that NTEC take $27,211 less?
that will give it, then that would be enough to fully fund the 9th one.
It would be,
Is there a representative from Mentech that can answer that question?
Yes, we would desire the entire amount, but we'd be willing to take, and that 27,000.
I'll make a motion. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Will you still say good things about us?
Yes. Come visit us in Elkhart sometime, Elkhart County.
So what does that dollar amount mean?
Are you looking at reducing the 27,211?
Yes.
I would make a motion to accept NTEC at $457,029. 457,029.
Okay,
And we're 94%, 94.4%. I like that number better.
is there a second?
I'll second his motion.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Thank you to Intech.
Pardon?
Thank you to Intech.
All right, Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman. Yes. Mr. Guerin,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead.
Yes.
I am also yes, Mr. Burrow.
Yes.
Okay, so NTEC is approved for $457,029. Next up is Petoskey Plastics. Move to approve.
Second. Full amount.
Okay, for a full amount of $172,902. Any further discussion? Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman. Yes. Mr. Guerin,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
Kelly.
Mr. Noonan.
Yes, Kelly.
I am also yes, Mr. Burrow.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. And moving on to Intertech products. Do you want to lead that one?
Intertech products, have a motion for Intertech products.
I move that we approve the full amount of $96,710.
Motion by Ms. Whitehead. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ackman. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Williams,
Refuse.
Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Mr. Lutz,
Yes.
Ms. Ackman,
Yes.
Mr. Guerin,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
and I vote yes, motion carries. And I believe we've exhausted our funds available. Would that be correct, Deanna?
Uh-oh.
Did we do the?
No, you got Rumpke as, you got
I
Rumpke,
transcribed it wrong.
right,
Oh,
it's.
365,958.
I mean, you've only got 3 people over here doing math.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Only back.
With that, we congratulate those who were awarded funding.
Thank you all.
And,
Thank you all.
and special thanks for those who were not awarded funding. Please do not abandon the program. We will be doing this hopefully again next year with the same amount of funds. And we look forward to your projects. And we're always looking for innovative products or projects. So please share this with your counterparts at your places of work or employment or through your communities, because I think we can do a lot. I think we've done a lot over the years. And I would like to thank all members of the board for their efforts in this process. With that, I would also like to offer the opportunity for anyone from the public to make comment. Hearing none. Oh, yes.
Not a comment, but from my perspective, having not been funded, it would help if I can get some feedback and understand what are the factors that made us unfunded compared to others. And take a step back to.
I believe, would it be appropriate for him to meet with to look at our scoring metrics?
In the past, we've done meetings, follow-up meetings with applicants.
Sure, because
So
we
just
want you to know.
Reach out to me again and we can set up a meeting.
Yeah, because we want to help educate you as to, you know, what we're looking for within a project and why your score may not have attained the heights of others.
If I can just add, it's not necessarily that it wasn't a good project. We just have limited funds and we do ultimately have to come down to, you know.
I understand.
apples and oranges.
Practically speaking, well, the factors, right? So-
Yeah.
And the scoring matrix that we use, I mean, that's what we base a lot of it on. I mean, you know, that, you know, that's
Yes.
what Deanna talked
Yes,
about.
and that is in your proposal guidance when you were applying for these and providing us proposals. That is a attachment within it. So you guys are provided that at the very beginning and we're very upfront with that because it is such a big impact on how we end up evaluating these.
So, thanks to all, I mean, with, all of our money gone, is there any other board comment that needs to be made or any other actions required by the board at this time?
Deanna, before we,
I love this piece of paper. I tried to do it myself and it took me a lot of time. So next time, can you send us to us in advance?
Yeah.
yeah, it was
I was so-
on-
I mean, I was
It
so
was on
jealous.
that.
You already told me.
I know.
It was on your guys' spreadsheet.
You did put that?
Yeah, it's been there for 2 or 3 weeks. I did it myself. There was a lot of different, like, things underneath, but one of them was that additional sheet, yeah.
Maybe send us a separate email that says, here's.
Yeah. I will do that. We do, before we end this meeting, we do need to discuss,
Future date.
schedule, yeah.
All right, and then Mr. Gurran, got a comment.
I just that, for those that didn't get funded, in the past, there have been people who were not funded who come back in additional years and got funded. So don't be depart.
All right, the proposed 2023 schedule. I'm very excited about the first meeting because it's on Groundhog Day. Yeah. Which, Pat, is one day before my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So our next board meeting will be February 2nd, 2023. Followed up by April 27th, 2023. Interesting, it's nobody's birthday. And then July 27th, 2023. And the award meeting being on October 26th, 2023. I will remind every board member that we will have obviously some duties that we have to be responsive to when it comes to the other grant review and recommendation for the $4 million.
So please look at your calendar closely at that February 2nd date in particular works. I know last year we had a lot of discussion about the first date of the year when everybody was available, but we need to make sure we have a quorum.
Is that, Deanna, is that when we award the $4 million?
Yes.
Pending weather. Because we all live in Indiana and February could be, is that one, could that be Zoom if road conditions are, or do we need to make anything of more than a quorum not being in person?
I would have to take a look at our policy and what I refresh my memory on that. Yeah, Kathy, do you remember what our policy is for how many need to be in person? Or, Michael, I think you're online too.
I think a certain number have to be.
I can look it up. There, yeah, there is. I think we.
I'm trying, I don't have it in front of me.
I was on, I'm sorry,
I can-
forgot to
I can
mute.
look it up.
I think 50%, but
Alright.
my memory is not,
I thought
The
that
greatest.
was correct, because I thought it was had to be. Like we had like 2/3, but then kind of as the COVID happened, we found some other boards that said it was 50-50 or something. like
yeah,
that.
I believe it's 50%, Deanna, but I could be wrong.
I'm pulling it up now too.
I sat through all the wetlands task force meetings, and I know for that task force, maybe it's different because it's a legislative task force. They were required to be in person or to vote on that final report, so they could participate remotely, but they were not able to vote. So I don't know. if
We
that-
adopted a policy. We
Okay.
adopted a policy.
Well, that's good.
The minimum number of RMDB voting members who must be physically present at the place where the meeting is conducted must be greater of 2 or 1/3 of the members.
Oh, 1/3, oh, that's even better.
I think we purposely made it some more lenient.
Yeah.
Or- Yeah, 1/3 of the voting members, which is 9 members, so that's actually 3. So
So you just have to have 3 in person.
yeah.
That should be no problem.
Yeah.
But again, with the level of funding and whatnot, I would hope we have favorable weather and we can all come and work through that process. I'd like to thank Mr. Wooders for joining us today. Welcome.
Thanks. I will see you at the.
Pat?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. First, I just want to thank my staff, Deanna, Jacob. They've done a tremendous amount of getting everything reviewed and compliance checks and all of that through. Keeping in mind, we had all 3 grant programs going at the same time. Tons of applications, and they've done a great job doing that, so I appreciate them and the work they've done. Also, for everyone in the audience, especially if you're anticipating applying next year. Next year is a budget year. Hopefully, we usually try to announce the next round of grants May 1st. But it depends on whether or not the legislature has approved our budget by then. So hopefully May 1st of next year, the next round will be announced.
And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you, Pat. You and your staff have always been there to support us in every effort we've made, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other business? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second? I think this is a good one for an all in favor. Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you very much.